Mr. Harris, William Hall is the person in question here. He may be the finest man offering good services. I hope so. We're sending him, I don't know how many dollars, so I'm guessing millions of dollars. According to the Inspector General, you actually went to his house and installed home theater equipment, correct?
I did.
Was that you personally?
That was me personally.
Who else was involved in that?
Just me.
And what were you paid by him to do that?
I was not compensated.
So this is a person with how many contracts? 6 or 8 contracts with the Department of Education, and you go to his house? You have a business. I disagree with you. I don't think this is a little hobby. I think this is, I agree with the Inspector General here. And you go to this person's house and you install a home theater system? And he paid you how much? Nothing?
He was a friend.
Mr. King, you don't see any ethical problem doing that?
Again, Dr. Harris was not involved after 2008 when this relationship
No, I'm asking about when it happened at the time.
But what I counseled
No, he
was
was.
that we can't have...
Wait, Mr. King, you're making an assumption that the Inspector General says is not true. They laid out a case where Mr. Harris was involved. A contract was going to a different vendor. He got personally involved and at least had some input, not saying the final decision, some input, and that contract was changed and given to William Hall's company.
There was a contract in 2004 before this relationship began, according to the evidence.
But he was the program manager for other contracts.
But again, the relationship...
No, wait a sec, Mr. King. The initial contact, the interaction with Mr. Harris had with William Hall started in like 2000, 2001.
As acquaintances. Based on
so it's an acquaintance. There's a standard between an acquaintance and a friend?
Based on the evidence that was presented by the IG to our general counsel, there was
I'm tired of hearing about you and your general counsel, okay? They can give you all the advice you want. You make the decisions. You're the decision maker. So let's just cut that part out and get right to the chase
Again,
hold on one sec. Hold on one second. You see no ethical problem with somebody who oversees and supervises the personnel who have to implement these contracts, with them personally going and installing home theater equipment to a company that I'm guessing makes millions of dollars from those contracts?
As I indicated, I made clear in my counseling to Dr. Harris.
Yeah, if you're just going to read the same thing.
There cannot be an appearance of impropriety to the extent that having...
But I want to know if there was any impropriety. And in your mind, you're saying no. There is no impropriety.
What I'm saying is that the appearance, as a result of the personal relationship, was a problem. Dr. Harris understood that. The relationship ended in 2013.
I think Mr. Meadows is exactly right. You can't have it both ways. Either Mr. Harris violated no regulation, law, policy, or any ethical concern, and you should continue on, sir. According to Mr. King, continue on, play on. You've had nothing docked in your pay, nothing, you've progressed at every level. You got bonused up. I mean, you've had, what, almost $250,000 in bonuses over the last 11 years. Congratulations. And you had side businesses, 3 other jobs. You were people that had contracts with you that you were going to their home and installing theaters. You, over a 2-year period, exchanged 700 phone calls or text messages, you say. But you say, hey, there's no relationship. You still oversee those? I don't know how you get away with it. I really don't. I'm concerned about the other 3,900 and however many employees are out there. I think you're sending the wrong mix. And Mr. King, I hope at some point you do reevaluate and go through this. I got one other thing here. Mr. Harris, what was you had to go back with this unreported income. How much money are we talking about was the unreported income?
It was 1% of my household income.
Over what period of time?
Over a 10-year period.
So over a 10-year period, you're making in excess close to $2 million during that time.
No, sir. No, sir. It was an average of $4,000 a year, and that was before expenses. After expenses, it was hundreds of dollars, and that is why, poor judgment, but that is why it wasn't a business. It was just a hobby, but it was.
So there's $40,000 in revenue? That's what we're talking about? That wasn't?
Over 10 years, and again, that's before expenses. After expenses, it would have been hundreds of dollars. There literally was no major profit to be made. It was insignificant amounts of money.
But you had employees, you were installing home theater equipment, you
I
had
did not
people.
have employees.
Okay, you had independent contractors that worked at the Department of Education that also worked for you, and they had dual income as well. I'm just trying to, so if it's 1% of your income, you said 1 to 2% of your income over 10 years.
Annually, 1% annually.
I know, but I'm taking your salary, $183,000, you haven't always made that much. You multiply that times 10, that equals how much? $1.8 million. Take what's 1 or 2% of that. Yeah, and you
No,
start
sir.
to come up with tens of thousands of dollars that I just want to understand the gravity. We'll work on the math with you in the Department of Education soon. I could continue on, but we have exhausted this. I think you have, Mr. King, with all due respect, Ms. Winchell. Let me do this before he does. Ms. Bruce, we've talked about several things here over the last few minutes. You looked like you wanted to make some sort of comment there.
Only that I know we spent quite a bit of time talking about business. The OIG at no time never was approached to get some additional information. We've always been available for that additional information. Our concern has not been business, it's been about earned income. So I wanted to make sure that point was made clear. When you asked me about a business, it was about earned income in our report, not necessarily about a business.
And Ms. Winchell, the policy is any income above $200, correct?
Yeah, actually, it's the law that governs the financial disclosure reporting. It's
Right.
$200 from any source. Because Dr. Harris didn't form a business, that would be over $200 from each person who paid him to provide a service in a given year. So for example, if he installed a home AV system for $700 and earned $700, he would need to report that. But if he detailed a car for $75 or $100, that would not need to be reported.
Yeah,
In other words, they don't have to.
In my mind, it's actually more understandable, but, and why do we do that? Why do we get disclosures of $200 or more?
Well, I can't speak for why the legislature set the $200, but the whole point of the system is to help the government identify and remediate actual and potential conflicts of interest.
Yeah, it's an ethical issue.
Exactly.
Did he fill out a form for 10 years, or did he fill a form out for just 1 year?
Mr. Harris actually has filled out his public financial disclosure form completely and in a timely manner every year. And when we've had questions that we needed to address on technical aspects of the form, he's
I don't know how you come to the
responsive.
conclusion, it's kind of laughable almost that after this hearing, you still think he filled it out completely. Ms. Bruce, what did you find there?
Our evidence showed that for the years in question, 2008, 9, and 10, there were no disclosures as far as the $200, in excess of $200.
And Mr. Harris admitted that he's making money every year for 10 years, and there's 3 years that they didn't complete them. So you just said, this is what scares us to death. This is why we got a hearing that's going into hour 4, is because you still, as the ethics officer, you spent supposedly 8 hours a day working on ethics. Hard to believe that happens. You still don't understand it. You still don't know that there's a problem. And Mr. King, you are enabling this. You are the decision maker. You've been given this mantle of trust from the President of the United States, and you're failing. And it's got to quit. You still don't know. He admitted right here just now that for 10 years he's been having this income. And the Inspector General is saying, why are you shaking your head? Back in the audience, just laughing at us. You're laughing at the American taxpayer. I don't know who that guy works for. I'm telling you, don't just sit there and laugh at us. I will follow this through. You didn't think we were taking this seriously. You are making a fundamental and total mistake. You're misusing American taxpayer dollars. We have vulnerabilities that are just unbelievable, and we will continue to pursue this. You better hope that none of that data gets out there. But when the Inspector General went to penetrate the system, they got in there unimpeded, never detected, walked back out, and reported it to Congress, as they should. Ms. Bruce, to the people that work in the Inspector General's office, thank you. Thank you for your good work. We wouldn't know about this without those good people doing tough, difficult work. Nobody wants to hear from the Inspector General, but they do some of the most valuable work that we have before us today. I thank you all for your service, and I thank you for your testimony today. Thank the men and women who work in the Department of Education. We're trying to fix it, but the problem is sitting here with Ms. Winchell, Mr. King, and Mr. Harris. This meeting is now adjourned.